Welcome to News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching On Point with Kartikeya. Chief Minister of Manipur Biren Singh has launched a war on drugs. The government is holding talks with the Border Roads Organization to fence the entire stretch of India-Myanmar border. The Chief Minister has also announced the creation of an anti-narcotic task force to tackle illicit poppy cultivation in the state. The ANTF will start functioning with immediate effect. Now let me come to the point. And let me ask the question, can this drive succeed when the police has no proper access in hill areas and buffer zone has divided Manipur into two parts? Now, the bigger problem is that the hill areas are being manned by Assam Rifles, the Imphal Valley is being manned by Manipur Police. Gradually, CRPF and BSF is also being inducted in the Manipur theatre. And this becomes even more important because Chief Minister is saying that he'll ensure that the border is fenced, because only 6 kilometres of the Manipur border is fenced. He has also raised question on the free movement of people, 16-kilometre corridor which is there. He says this needs to come to an end. On this issue, I am joined by my input editor Brijesh Pandey, Dr. Khangebam Romesh, Assistant Professor, Center for Philosophy, JNU, Dr. Thangulal Haukeb, Assistant Professor, Center for Study of Law and Governance, and Suhas Chakma, Director, Rights and Risk Analysis Group. First, I'll come to you. Now, this announcement was made on 23rd evening. 24th, ANTF came into force. Chief Minister has made the announcement, Brijesh, that this is going to be his pivot. Let me play out the bite of Biren Singh, and then please answer the question, can this be a pivot? Because certain announcements are very, very clear that Biren Singh is organizing the so-called post-conflict chief ministership around poppy, arms and anti-narcotic drive and the fencing of the border. Let's play out the bite.
We invited the NCB Narcotic Bureau officials day before yesterday, and we have constituted a joint committee with the state, NAF and the NCB, and we will continue surveillance as well as destruction of the poppy plantation in the hill areas.
So, Biren Singh very clearly, categorically, these are old visuals, but I am playing out these visuals. They started somewhere before the conflict, in which he is telling his colleague that these are the areas where poppy is being cultivated. So, Biren Singh's war on drugs 2.0. Opening comments.
Well, I think, right now the biggest challenge for the government would be to ensure peace, law and order in the state. It's not going to be a one day or a very quick task as far as fencing of Indo-Myanmar border, especially the Manipur stretch. And also, this crackdown and the formation of ANTF, which comes into immediate effect. It's a more a populist measure, because I completely agree that, that illegal poppy cultivation is something which should be tackled with a very hard stance, because drugs destroy the future of the state and the country. But right now, with the kind of the turmoil Manipur is undergoing through, I don't see this alacrity in forming to crack down on groups, be it Kuki or Maiti, who are holding illegal weapons or country-made weapons. I think the top focus should right now of the state should be that. It seems this particular gig seems to be more of a populist measure, if I may say so.
Populist measure. Dr. Ramesh, do you think it's populist or required? Because if you just go by the words, if you go by the details, the administrative action he has taken in the last 48 hours, it's around fencing of the border, his meeting with the BRO, his induction of CRPF and BSF and Manipur theatre. It is also about of creation of this force and to find out illegal immigrants. So you know by what is being announced, what's the pivot. So do you think that this pivot is going to work right now when the buffer zone exists?
Thank you, Kartikeya. Am I audible?
Oh, absolutely, Dr. Ramesh. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Kartikeya, for having me after a long gap. At this moment, I think the announcement of the Chief Minister for fencing of the border is required. But at this moment of the crisis, I think it may not happen. what is more important, what is more required at this moment is how to protect the lives of the citizens of the Manipur. So the state has some sort of responsibility to protect the life of the people of Manipur. But at this present situation, I think that by the state, I mean both the state and union government. So they are doing anything now. The common people are protecting their life themselves. So at this moment, the government should give more importance, should give more emphasis on how to protect the life of the people of the Manipur, the citizen of this country. So I think this is not the right step to be taken up at this situation. What is more important is how to protect the life of the citizens of the Manipur. What the government has been doing since May 3rd. They are doing nothing. Two group of people are fighting. People are dying. They don't have proper food. They don't have proper place to sleep. So the announcement of the fencing of the border, it will take time, but I welcome this decision of the government, but it will take time. So at this situation, the government should look into how to bring peace, how to protect the life of the citizen of this country, how to provide security to the people of the Manipur.
Dr. Hauke, if the government believes that the real issue is illegal immigration and the government believes that the narcotics is grown in the hills and they believe that that's where it needs to be busted, well then that's the policy then. And so be it. Dr. Hauke.
Yes, Kartikeya, I think I have so many things to say this evening regarding these policies of poppy cultivation.
Take your time. Take your time. Take your time. Say it.
Border fencing. But let me first, try to articulate on why, so soon the Chief Minister is trying to do all these things when it is, not the time to have some quick policy right now. So, to my opinion, the Chief Minister is trying to gain quick legitimacy of authority because so far we have been questioning his continuance as a Chief Minister of Manipur. He has not been able to control the law and order situation for the last 4.5 months. So we have been questioning his continuance of, to power, clinging to power, while he has not been able to control or gain confidence of the people who have been, into a conflict for the last more than 4 months. And coming to this border fencing, this area is a kind of a cultural space where people on both sides of the border are the same. And for the last many years, there is a kind of policy where these people could, move around, in a certain kilometer, within certain kilometer of this international border. And if you look into the reality once again, for instance, the southernmost tip of the southeastern border of Manipur is, totally not connected with the rest of India. For instance, if someone from New Samtal in southeastern part of Manipur has to come to More or to Imphal or to New Delhi, they have to go move few meters towards the west, towards the east, to the Indo-Myanmar friendship border, road. And from there, they have to travel to the north, to More and to Imphal. So that's the only road. So if we try to fence the whole border, or if we want to end this kind of regime, then we have to, have these roads in place, or we have to have a border road between More, New Samtal, and other places in Churachampur. Before bringing that, while we are using the infrastructure of the other side of the border, that is the Myanmar's infrastructure of roads and others, how can we just fence them and then leave these people without any means of communication with the rest of India? So this is not going to be easy, and it cannot come immediately. And we have to think a long term by at least trying to build. If you say that there is a kind of national security involved in it because of illegal immigration and others, and we need to fence this whole stretch of Manipur-Myanmar border.
Okay, let me ask you this, Dr. Hauke, is it possible? Is it possible to fence the Manipur border? Is it possible? Because the Bangladesh border fencing not only took more than 20 years, but Bangladesh fencing often led to firing between two forces, suspension of work. It also, border fencing was not an easy issue. So when I ask about fencing of the border, is it an easy issue? Can it be done easily? Does the demography permits it there?
That's actually the question. We have to study first, this Indo-Bangladeshi border as well as other parts of the country, and then carefully look into it. Instead of being instead of antagonizing the other country through border fencing and others, we could have certain other policy of increasing the security regime in this borderland, rather than of course, Myanmar is not a hostile country. They are more friendlier than Bangladesh. We have had a good relationship with them. Definitely, even this border fencing would not tantamount to certain antagonistic approach by the Myanmarese army. But definitely, I think we have to study first properly the pros and cons, the cause of erecting those.
You see, Dr. Haukip, you are saying it needs to be studied properly, but the Chief Minister has decided, he has declared it as war on drugs. So my question to Suhas is one, that when the Chief Minister says that he's going to launch and it's going to be the pivot of his policy, what should we make out of it? One is what he wants to do, he has said it. As journalists, what should we make out of this pivot? War on drugs 2.0 version. That is my first question to you. What should I make out of it?
Well, I think what we should make out of it is that Biren Singh thinks that the rest of the people are fools. And the citizens of this country are idiots and they could be taken for a ride. And that's why he is saying all these things. Let me tell one thing. If the war on drugs is going to take place genuinely, I believe that a number of officials, a number of political leaders belonging to all political parties, a number of actors from all the communities will be arrested, and we will see when it comes. It's very easy to announce one particular policy, but all of us know the ground reality, and the reality is without the participation, connivance and acquiescence of certain officials, certain political functionaries at various levels, drug trafficking, cultivation cannot take place, and the war started only on one issue, that this conflict started because of the division over the dividends from the drug war. We cannot prove it, but that is one of the fundamental elements. The second issue which I want to comment on, I am from Tripura, so I know the Indo-Bangladesh border. Chakmas live along the sides in Tripura and Mizoram on the Indo-Bangladesh borders. I think, the time has come for us to realize that, the border fencing is not workable. United States has not been able to stop immigration from Mexico. Italy has not been able to stop. In fact, couple of days back, the chief of the European Commission had said migration will be one issue which will tear apart the European Union. So when people say that they are going to fence the border,
are you saying that the fencing is not going to work, Chief?
No, absolutely not. It's absolutely not workable. Even if you build a fence,
why?
The number of
why?
Well, fences are blown away, blown apart. People just cut the wires, they come in, and you are not going to deploy thousands of troops. And you go to Mizoram, Mizoram will say, we need to have, free border movement, which we are having just because of 4,000 people, which Manipur says illegal immigrant. If they are going to protest about it, why should Mizoram accept it? It doesn't work out. Even between Bangladesh and India, you think the border fencing works out. It doesn't work out. It possibly stops certain movement of illegal things, the trucks and etc. But otherwise, it doesn't work out. It is unworkable. And if you look at the topography, imagine trying to build the borders. If you build the borders, the amount of financial resources you will spend. Does the government of India has the money? The government of India even doesn't have the money. And I'm telling you, in those border areas, I have seen myself between Bangladesh and India in Tripura side. It doesn't exist. For all practical purposes, it doesn't exist. People will move around. Today, people are a bit more concerned because there's a conflict going on. And I am telling you, the same politicians For the sake of both, we will say, what's the use of the fencing at certain point of time.
So you are saying that the border, it's not going to work if you fence Manipur border, people can go to Mizoram and come from there, they can come from Arunachal.
Absolutely not. I have no belief whatsoever unless you are in war, like in Pakistan. The only border fencing to some extent with respect to the movement of civilian which works is with Pakistan because we are at war. It doesn't work with Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, and I'm saying this on record, the trucks are illegally, commuting from the Indian side to the Bangladeshi side. What are you talking about? It's a reality, and it's not going to work out in the hills between Manipur and Myanmar. Anybody has little sense of topography, the maps which you are seeing it. You try to put the fencing out there.
Illegal immigrants? Then what do you do with illegal immigrants?
Listen, if 4,000 people, illegal immigrants have come into Manipur, as per the records of the government of Manipur, it's not an issue. So how do you deal with illegal immigrants? The only way to deal with illegal immigrants is to facilitate a process wherein people come in, register themselves, and you adjudicate each and everyone's case. Otherwise, if you do not adjudicate, people usually come, they acquire the local documents, and they become local after a certain point of time. Today, the government of India says Rohingya refugees are a threat. That's the Ministry of Home Affairs. That's the Intelligence Bureau. That's the RAW. Do they have any accounts of how many Rohingya refugees in this country? There are no documents. There are no, just galti se bol diya, 40,000 people Kiren Rijiju had said. You ask him, where did you find data? There is no data. So what are we saying? We do not document people who come into this country. And if you do not document this into this country, people will acquire their documents. And I am telling you, I'll give you one example. In Assam, there are 90 lakhs people who have found out to be not qualified under the National Register of Citizens. 500,000 of them are Adivasis, the indigenous peoples of Assam who are not found in Bangladesh, like the Bodos, or in Bhutan, or Nepalese. Are you going to send them back somewhere, middle of nowhere? If you prosecute them, all the jails in Assam will be finished. So nobody wants to talk about NRC. And they are moving an application, re-verify. Look, these people work basically for their political needs. They have no practicalities or practical ideas. So this whole idea of you have to identify people by facilitating the process. Now, if you prosecute each person under the Foreigners Act, under the Passports Act, etc., they will not register. They will not register. So what are they doing? There are 60,000 people in Mizoram from Myanmar. Have you started the process of identification? In 1989 and 1990, you read the report of the Human Rights Watch.
How many people did you say? Swaz, 60,000 people.
Absolutely, and read the report of the Human Rights Watch.
60,000 people in Mizoram.
Absolutely, they are coming from Bangladesh. They are coming from because they are persecuted. So if they are persecuted, they will come in. And when people cross the borders, they do not document. And I am telling you, there is a report of the Human Rights Watch on the persecution of the Chinese, including in Mizoram, and where there was a population of 100,000 when the crackdown took place in 1989 after Aung San Suu Kyi NLD came to power. And there was no agreement for these people to go back.
Okay.
So where did they go? Where did they go? They assimilated wherever they are. That's the way. It's not true of Mizoram, it's everywhere. So, so long you do not have a refugee law, you will only prefer based on your ethnicities. If you are a Hindu, then of course you are welcome. If you are a persecuted Muslim, you will not welcome. It's a mess. So Sri Lankan Tamil refugees who have no conflict in Sri Lanka and should be going back, they are kept in this country. But other refugees who are facing
persecution. Point taken, fair enough. Dr. Ramesh, point taken. So, as very important points, very fairly laid on the table and very strongly argued. But the fact of the matter is that you do have poppy cultivation. You cannot have a chief minister who does not have a policy against narcotics. There is a problem of golden triangle. There is a problem that poppy is grown. I accept the argument. The war is over the dividends, as the argument started. But then the dividends have to be on the poppy cultivation. It means that there is poppy cultivation. That is why the war has become so ugly now. It's dividends. So there is poppy cultivation. So what do you do with that? Which means Biren Singh is doing the right thing.
So, Kartikeya, are you asking me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think, this war on drug is a very, welcome move. But we have to think what are the constructive policy is associated with these policies of war on drug. So, the complete eradications of the poppy drive is completely failed in Manipur because it doesn't have the follow-up legal action. So this is the reasons for the failure of the state machinery to control the menace. So in this war on drug policy, we need to look into that whether this policy has a follow-up legal actions or not. If there is no follow-up legal action, then this eradication of poppy drive is completely meaningless. We have already witnessed in the war on drug one. So this is the main reason for the failure of these mechanisms to manage the to control the media. So not only the state government. I think in this case, in this issue, the union government has also an important role. So according to the NDPS Act, Section 8 of the NDPS Act 1985, so poppy cultivation without the valid license is prohibited in the soil of the India. So not only the effort of the state government, the union government has also to play some important role. And this poppy plantation is mainly cultivated in the hill area, mainly dominated by the Kuki people, I would say, without any fear, with strong conviction. So we have to look into that, what kind of policy we need to bring out to resolve this poppy cultivation. And some people are saying that we should try to find out some alternatives, way of providing some sort of economic package to those farmers who are involved in the poppy plantation. But I am completely against this kind of assertion that Manipur, the farmer of the Manipur never dependent on the poppy plantation. And this poppy plantation is not the traditional practice of the farmer of the Manipur. So we have to look into this policy of the government on war on drug, whether it has some follow-up legal action or not. If there is no legal action, follow-up legal action, then this policy will be completely meaningless.
Brijesh, I'll come to you, Suhas. Brijesh, tell me. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Ramesh.
Yeah, one more point. So the process of eradicating poppy from the soil of the Manipur should not be only to destroy the crop, but also for the prosecutions of the offender involved in this poppy plantation under the Act of the NDPS Act 1994 and its relevant law.
Okay, Brijesh,
it should not be only to destroy the crop.
There are a couple of things. Brijesh, when I read this, it informs me of three things. One, Biren Singh has complete backing from the center. For him to come back and pivot his policies on war against drugs, illegal immigration and fencing, it tells you that the green signal or the green flag he has got from the center to act in a certain way. And third thing becomes very, very clear that with the new force in place, I think the campaign on drugs will get the full might, full help from both center and adjoining states also.
Well, I think, Kartikeya, no sane mind can justify any kind of poppy cultivation or distribution of drugs.
Absolutely.
Or anything to that effect.
Absolutely.
No sane mind can. And if anybody is trying to justify in whichever way can, is just not worth the salt. But the fact of the matter is that right now, when you see the crackdown on poppy cultivation, when Manipur is caught in one of the worst ethnic strife it has seen in many years, it sounds more like a diversionary tactics rather than an attempt to go whole hog on destroying drugs which is there. For me, it is very, very hard to believe that that it is one ethnicity which is involved in production of poppy, in cultivation of it, in making sure that its distribution around it, and nobody else has any idea about it. I refuse to believe this. So when you talk of crackdown on drugs, will it be a sincere crackdown on drugs, like not the kind of crackdown which we witness when it comes to who owns the guns and all illegal guns or guns who have been snatched from the police? I don't know. And the more you think about it, it's several hundred kilometers of fencing. How many days are you going to be able to do the fencing? How are you going to crack down?
The only thing which surprised me is that the crackdown against drug is not limited in Manipur. It's a drive which is taken across India, but Manipur is one state where the issue has become politicized at a community level. If you look at,
but Kartikeya, the fact is that as I said, nobody can justify drug this thing. I mean, and somebody who was bereft of a mind.
I'm not
what
saying,
I'm saying
I'm
is that what I was trying to say is that right now, when you have a buffer zone hill, there's a complete divide between the hill and the valley. In the middle of this, you have a separate force which is going there destroying poppies and all. You think that will be without consequences, in the sense that, like, when you see people entering, when you see police force entering, I mean, I stand to correction what these three gentlemen who know the lay of the land 100 times more than me. But what I would assume is that it would be further inflaming the situation rather than dousing down it. I think the topmost priority of the government should be to crack down hard on those people or people with guns, people who have snatched guns from police, paramilitary and others, and ensure that there's peace and calm before they actually embark on this journey, rather than embarking on it in the middle of this chaos.
So I have two questions to ask. One, is it going to add fuel to the fire? One, and secondly, how are they going to go to the hills? I mean, so who's going to check in which part of the hill the poppy cultivation is taking place when you have a buffer zone? Because Manipur Police and Assam Rifle are operating independently in different areas. So ask.
Well, I just want to supplement and completely agree with what Brijesh had said. Look, the police are already overstretched with respect to law enforcement, and now you bring these elements which will only, if they try to enforce poppy cultivations without targeting all the traffickers, it's going to have basically inflammatory effect. We have to remember,
are you saying that's going to have inflammatory effect?
Absolutely, because of the tension and because of the way people see the law enforcement to be biased. And we have to, I just want to...
Are you saying, no, a section of people see law enforcement as biased? You're saying people see law enforcement as biased? A section of people?
Absolutely, in both sides.
Both sides?
A section. Both sides. And that's what I was coming to. I mean, I think people who are against drug to be successful. There is nobody who wants it. But there are certain forces, when it comes to law enforcement, it doesn't, see, people lose the face. I mentioned three instances. First instance was with respect to this Thanjabam Brinda, the additional SP who was fired for pursuing the drug case. That's one. The second incident which took place is February this year, when one particular person, supposed or alleged stepbrother of a minister, was arrested with 50 kg of drugs by the Delhi police in Delhi, is considered to be one of the factors which led to various kind of conflict. And final point which I want to mention in this, that at certain point of time the pictures were published in the in the frontier Manipur, showing that officials at the highest level from the state of Manipur meeting people who were already charged with drug trafficking, etc. So I think people welcome all this initiative, but people tend to ask questions based on these three specific precedents which I have mentioned. So that's why when you say that they are going to take law enforcement for drug trafficking 2.0, I think people would welcome, but the government has to establish its own credential that they will take to logical conclusion, as Professor Ramesh had mentioned. The law will take its own course, and we have repeatedly seen in Manipur, law was not allowed to take its own course, and that remains a problem. And of course, when you have this security situation in such a way that the Narcotics Bureau, let me put it this way, even the Supreme Court committees, the CBI, the Manipur police are having difficulty to access the offenses which are being committed under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. And you think that they are going to chase the drug traffickers, poppy cultivation, etc. No. Then what did the center do? Center ultimately had to invoke or basically instruct the NIA to arrest the person who was released along with this, 4 others, the 5 people who were arrested for alleged extortion, etc. So the court gave bail. So the center had to instruct the NIA to go and pick up the guy, and he had to be brought back to Delhi. So it basically shows that in Manipur itself, as serious as threat to national security, where you invoke the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, you actually cannot enforce the law because of a number of factors, including in some places because of the procedures followed by the prosecution, judiciary, etc. So you have to try the cases in Guwahati, and in urgent cases you are bringing them in Delhi. The person who was released by the court on bail after being arrested under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, he is now in Delhi, arrested by NIA. So if you cannot enforce the law with respect to terrorism offenses, we have serious doubts actually whether it can be enforced with respect to drug cultivation, etc. We all want it. It's just that the government doesn't have the track record on anything that they are serious about it. It just happens to be another announcement which they will forget next day. And when it comes to border fencing, it's enormous amount of time, land acquisition, paying compensation to the people, then building the roads.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's
fair enough. Then it begets the question, Dr. Haukip, why is Chief Minister talking about it? If these have so many practical disabilities in context of operationalization, why is he talking about it? Why has he made it a point to say that there will be a further crackdown?
Kartikeya, I have already said about this in my earlier engagement just few minutes ago. I think, to my opinion, it's primarily to regain his legitimacy as a ruler of Manipur. But I would say that the length of this policy is too premature, right? From now on, the work of the administration is to maintain law and order till December, to calm down the people, to radicalize the youths who have been a part of this conflict. That is the main goal. And forget about those youths and other village guards who have been engaged in this physically. Many people in the metropolitan cities are so much radicalized right now. If you look into social media, how toxic people are, attacking one another, dehumanizing the other. That is, very much evident. And if you look into these drugs, it's not only drugs but guns business that has been very well established.
No, I would say, Dr. Haukip, you had drugs. Now drugs and guns are both together. Flea-footing. Earlier there was a drug problem, now you have a drug and a gun problem.
Yes, apart from that, it looks like corruption is a gentleman's business. Corruption is one of the, largest problem that we have in Manipur. The funds are not reaching the hills. The funds are not even reaching the, rural areas of Imphal Valley. Look into the segregation of Imphal Valley also. Many in the, periphery areas are not having proper roads. Look into some of the problems faced by some of the gold medalists or other medalists in Olympics in recent past. They are complaining about the non-existence of facilities, non-proper road, communication. This is what we face in reality. We have been struggling. Instead of addressing this, many times the political class try to legitimize themselves by bringing into issues of drugs and others, into the fore. But of course, all these problems has to be addressed, but there are ways of handling it. The church has been cooperating and then seeking, help from the government to eradicate poppy cultivation. And it's not only poppy cultivation. There is drug business. There are drugs coming from Myanmar. Even the police commandos have been caught. Even the, many of the paramilitary forces have been, they have been the history of that. And we have to focus on that. And, there are other alternate policies like we have in Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and some other states in central India where the central government has a plan to legalize plantation of poppy to about 1.12 lakhs farmers. Likewise, there can be legalization of poppy cultivation so that it goes to the right hand, because we need these products also, for pharmaceutical and other products. So there can be an option. And secondly, definitely, we have to control corruption in these borderland areas, which has been affected with this for the last so many years, so that there are a functional road in the hill areas, there are functional schools for those people who were, deprived of all these government benefits. And I have done a kind of field work on land use policy in Mizoram and Manipur for the last about 3 years. And I found that many of the people, the farmers who cultivated poppy in the hill areas, they have this problem of financing their children in schools. Unless proper schools in the hills are provided, then they have no choice but to cultivate these and send their children.
But that cannot be a choice, Dr. Haukip. I understand poverty. Dr. Haukip, I really understand that poverty is a very brutal thing and it pushes you to do many things. But cultivation of poppy, that is just a different ball game. Dr. Ramesh, you had raised your hand.
Yeah, I just want to say, one more thing, Kartikeya, over here. According to the Section 46 of the NDPS Act 1985.
Okay.
So if there is a poppy plantation in an area, the landholder has to immediately inform to the police or to any competent authority. And we have seen that a lot of poppy plantations carried out in the area dominated by the Kuki. So my question is the government of the Manipur. No landholder informed about the poppy plantation which is carried out in the area dominated by the Kuki. What kind of action they have taken till now? What kind of action taken by the state government? What kind of action taken by the union government? So now, the mighty area has been declared as a buffer zone. Many lives have been killed. And how the questions of this war on drugs to come up suddenly, without giving more concern to the displaced people who have no proper place to sleep, who have no proper food to eat. And this area, Khogjakai, Togum, Kangbai, and Togum, Bangla, this area has been declared as buffer zone, where Baitis are not allowed to enter. But Kuki people are free, they have free movement in this area. Why not buffer zone in the borderline of Chusampur and the Bishnupur district? Why in this area of Chorgung, Kangbai, Khogjakai, Ikai? And why buffer zone in Napar and Tangking? In my earlier presence in Yosu, maybe in the third week of May, I have already mentioned about this Napar and Tangking. After burning down the houses of the Napar and Tangking, that area was occupied by the Kuki military. Now it has been replaced by many Indian security forces. They did not allow the people of the mighty government to enter in their own land. And there is a free movement of the Kuki militant group. I have visited. I'm just coming. I was in the ground for more than 1.5 months. I spoke to the BSF person. On 21st July, 3 houses were burned down in the Togum Sabalaikai and 1 go down. So I went there and I asked the BSF official who was there to allow me to in that area to take a photograph of that destruction. And you know what he said? I have no objections for you to enter in this area, but I would suggest you not to go in that area. And I said, why? If you enter that area, you will be shot down. Why? By whom? And Kuki militants are hiding in that area. They will shoot down. You know, the people who with arms are hiding in some area, the location, and you know they will shoot me down. Despite knowing that, why you are not trying to chase out those illegal group from that area? You know what is the reply? We have not given the permission. Why you are not getting permission? Then he said, it is a political issue. So what I'm trying to say, many lives have been lost, and many people have displaced. They don't have their home, their houses have been burned down, they don't have proper food to eat, they don't have proper place to sleep. Why the government is not giving more importance how to bring peace, how to bring normalcy?
Dr. Ramesh, there was a point. Dr. Ramesh, there was a point which Dr. Haukip made before I go back to him as Suhas. Is it correct that there are more funds for valley areas and less for hill?
No, no. Last time also, I have already given the annual budget in your show, and they have autonomous district council, and they have hill area committee inside the assembly. Why their representatives are not complaining about what Dr. Hakim has mentioned? They have autonomous district council. For autonomous district council, they have different fund, and apart from that, they have hill area committee within the Manipur assembly. Why their representative? Why their MLA are not claiming all such things? Compared to Chusampur, I belong to Kumbi. Compared to Chusampur, Kartikeya, in my area there is no road. At least in Chusampur there are some good road. There is one medical college. There are many government offices. But in my area, Kumbi, there is no government office, there is no road, there is no water to drink.
Okay.
So it is not only hill. It is not only in hill. It is happening in all part of the Manipur.
Okay.
Dr. How, my point.
No, you have a point. There are a lot of things which I really want to ask you, but I think Dr. Haukip and Mr. Suhas wants to come in. Dr. Haukip, you wanted to respond?
First of all, I would like to counter perhaps or reply to Ramesh's claim that his area or his local home home village is undeveloped so far, right? But I would reiterate that few months back he claims that there is no college in his area, but I should say that there is a college called Kumbi College, right? And to put further again, before the kind of conflict that we have on since May 3rd, my wife was posted in that area, and it's a daily route. When I am on vacation, I will take her to office, and if you look into your Kumbi area, it's like a Delhi now. You have this Shanghai, ethnic park. You have so many good roads coming out.
No. Dr. Hakim, no.
I think I am moving around that area.
Dr. Hakim, please tell me.
And on the other point, regarding that Napat, during this conflict, of course, it has been eliminated, but that's just few villages, few houses. And considering that the whole Kuki villages in Sugumi area has been eliminated. Just take for example, Langching. Langching is a household of around 200, and all the buildings, all the houses has been razed to the ground. Despite that, many in the Twitter warriors would be talking about the houses in Chirsanpur and others, and we have been equally affected by this conflict. And let's not so much claim about certain things that someone has suffered unequal degree. I think that we should not.
Yes, Dr. Ramesh, you wanted to come in? Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is, I agree. I mean, some houses belong to Kuki group have been run down in the area of the Shugnu, but Shugnu is not declared as buffer zone. Why Napat and Tangjeng is declared as buffer zone? Why Torbung? Why Phokdaka Ikai? Why Kangbai? Why we cannot have buffer zone in the borderline? Why buffer zone in the area dominated by the Meitei?
Shugnu is not a border, it's not as a buffer zone because it's now dominated by the Meiteis. The buffer zone lies, way to the foothills.
This Napat Tangjeng is Dr. Hakim. Napat Tangjeng is dominated by Meitei. This is my place. This is my constituency. I have been there. And Trobung, Phokdaka Ikai, Kangbai. This is also within the Kumbi Assembly constituency. This is my area. And this area is divided by the Meitei.
They are divided by the Khuga River. So on the other side you have the Meitei, on the other bank, you have the cookies. So the river divides, the people. So that's a kind of a natural division for.
But is it correct to say, Dr. Ramesh, that the villages of those who were from the valley in the hill areas got destroyed, and the houses of the cookies living in valley, they too also got destroyed?
Yeah, they destroy. I agree. Yeah, houses belong to the cookie also destroyed. I mean, their houses have been burned down when in retaliation to the what happened on May 3rd. I agree. I have been there. I visited the Chukun area also. There is a massive destruction of the houses in that area compared to the houses in Napa Tangjang and Pogdakai. Because all the houses are pakka. All the houses of the cookie are pakka, well built building. And those people who are living in Napa, Tangjang, Pogdakai, Tokung, they are daily wagers.
I think you have a very sentimental.
Let me complete. This area belongs to Bishnupur district, plain area. This area belongs to Bishnupur district, plain area. This area belongs to Kumbi Assembly constituency in the valley.
Similarly, Langching and other houses in Suguni area, where hundreds of houses have been burned down, razed to the ground. These are in Chandil district in the hills. So it's the same thing.
Okay, Dr. Hawke, with due respect, and I think you also have to accept the truth, how the incident is happened. And I also want to ask the News9. I mean, News9 have been covering the issues of Manipur, I think, more than 3 months. But why the News9 is not trying to bring out how it happened?
You tell me how it happened, Dr. Ramesh. That is why I called you.
Yeah.
Tell me how it happened. You say
on May 3rd, there was a rally called by all tribal student union, right? And after reaching the valley area, Pogdakai, when they were returning back to Chusampur, they started burning the houses of the Kumaitai.
I think, Ramesh, if you ask the cookies, they will say the same thing that.
No, but I think you also know this. I mean, Hawke, you also know this. You know all these things. You know all these things. Okay, you know all these things. I think you know.
No, we are not there on the ground. We have no proof. The only proof is that two groups fight and they started burning houses. They started attacking one another.
Who started running? Who started? Just tell me. Who started running? In that rally, armed cookie group participated in that rally. The so-called solidarity march, the so-called peace rally.
It's only when there is trouble in the Kambai area.
I can provide you with the video clip. I can provide you the video footage.
The 1 or 2 militant groups rushed to the spot to tackle the situation.
After burning down the houses, they celebrated by raising the gun. After burning down the houses,
I can provide you the video footage.
I can provide you the footage.
The other group would say that
we also need to examine how all it happened. Then only peace will come. And again, one more thing. All the time, firing comes from the
houses were destroyed before those burning started. So we can't go into the specific because we'll keep on blaming the other side. That I accepted that, and I do not dwell into the details of how it started because both sides did bad things on that day, and that is the exact reason why this conflict started. We have to accept that. I think that's
Dr. Ramesh, come in. Dr. Ramesh, come in.
Dr. Hawke, I'm not blaming you. I'm just trying to bring out the truth. I have been there, and till now,
I think the truth will be subjective.
More than just a minute. Let me complete. More than 60,000 Indian security forces have been deployed in Manipur, and for this crisis, to control this crisis. Have you heard any of the cookie bunker have been destroyed by the Indian forces till now?
Of course, they have been destroyed in Churasanpur.
Let me complete. Let me complete. There is a place.
They have two bombing operations, which you can ask Brijesh and Kartikeya also. They have recovered arms and ammunition in Churasanpur, in Kampupi area. Equally, we have been observing, we have been following all those news. We even the host Kartikeya and Brijesh knows everywhere. All these details. They have been observing and they have been observant throughout this whole month.
Okay. I think point taken here. But the pivot. Suhas, if you are there with me, very quickly, when we talk about the pivot, we also talk about the pivot going to the hill areas. Do you think it's really possible? I think the conversation got localized to what had happened at 4th and subsequently to certain areas. But my question is, the pivot needs to work on ground. Is it possible for the troops to coordinate their work right now in the present situation in all of the hill areas? I think that's the real question. That is the asli sawal.
I think I'll come back to it later. I was just looking at the debates. Here, two young assistant professors from JNU belonging to both the communities, trying to bring out their differences. But I think if two professors in JNU who live in the same campus cannot come to some kind of agreement, prevail over, to send a message to the community that, it's possible to find some solution and it's possible to live together, it's possible to sort out the differences. I think it's very difficult for us or anybody else, including the government, to expect that there will be solution among people who are affected directly. Because when people are affected directly, the impact, the sentiments, they are very difficult to assuage. So I think when I see these two young professors from JNU within the same campus, I think you expect that, you could sit together and see what could be the way out. And the question which you are raising is it possible to coordinate on the ground? Even if it is possible on the ground, we have to realize one thing. There is a certain area, certain land on which it is not possible to have the presence of the security forces all the time. It's not even possible.
Okay.
And in fact, you see the Delhi police reaches.
I think I think I understand what you're trying to say. But if you look at these pictures of Biren Singh, there's one thing very clear, that this pivot is going to stay. The task force has come into existence. Good part is that internet ban does not exist right now. I hope this will provide us an opportunity to interact with more people in Manipur. I really hope to get them on ground. We are trying our best. I hope that happens. I hope we are able to cross and bridge that language barrier. If anyone is watching this program, they can get in touch with us and we will try to put you on this program, whether you are in Churachandpur, whether you are in Bishnupur, whether you are in Imphal Valley. If you have a broadband, you can get to us or News9 Live. You know where to email us, you know whom to contact. You can directly get in touch with us even through our News9 Live tweet, and you can tag us, you can get to us, you can send our phone links, you can DM us on our tweet, which is there. It is open, and I'm promising you, I'm going to give you space on air.
How do you see the role of Mr. Kejriwal?
I doubt that Aam Aadmi Party and Mr. Arvind Kejriwal can do any good to this nation.
You don't trust your employees.
If they go out of their mind, better they leave.
A person like Rajat Sharma or Sudhi Chaudhary, do you feel it would have been better for your cause if they had stayed back?
Duologue with Barun Das, featuring Dr. Subhash Chandra. World premiere on Connected TV tonight at 10.